Hello, welcome everyone. My name is Julie Hartley, and I'm an account manager here at the University of Waterloo's Co-operative Education Department. I've been a proud member of this organization for over 10 years, and I'm very happy to be hosting today's session. I'm so glad to have everyone here join us to learn about the secret sauce to a productive work term. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for partnering with the University of Waterloo to help students with transferring their classroom learnings to the workplace. By joining us here today, it really shows how much you value the program and your dedication to making it both an enjoyable and constructive work term for both the students and for yourselves. And like any good recipe, it starts with some great ingredients and proper timing. We'll be sharing some great tips from onboarding through the work term and offboarding students. Your investment in the student experience will yield better outcomes, higher student satisfaction, and long-term talent attraction. It can also give you the opportunity to develop your own staff's managerial skills and set up for succession planning. I'm hopeful that you'll walk away from today's session with some practical tips to enhance your student program, whether you are in the early stages of setting up a formal co-op program or whether you have a well-established early talent strategy. It is my great pleasure now to introduce you to our speakers today, who will be sharing some of their secrets to cooking up a great work term. First, we have Minami Alguire, Manager of Campus Talent Acquisition with Ontario Teachers Pension Plan, whom I personally had the pleasure of working with at two different organizations over the years. She's been with Ontario Teachers for about 2.5 years now and has been a wonderful supporter of next-gen talent. Next, we're also welcoming Amitosh Sandhu, Manager of Global Early Talent at Dayforce, who has been fearlessly leading their campus program for the past 3 years. And I can honestly say that both of them are just amazing and radiate such enthusiasm and passion for helping young talent to thrive. We're so happy to have you both here today, so thank you very much for joining us. With this next slide, we're going to just cover the agenda real quickly. We'll be touching on 5 main ingredients for work term success: onboarding, mentorship and autonomy, community, celebrating successes, and offboarding. We will have time at the end of the session to field some questions, or you can submit them through the Q&A tab in the chat. So, when you're looking to attract talent, it's important for both the candidate and the employer to make a great first impression. Our Work Learn Institute did a review of Gen Z a few years ago, and what they are looking for when they are looking for jobs and looking for an employer. And it's very much a two-way street now. As much as you want to know about whether the candidate will be a great fit for you, the candidates also want to know about your organization and what you stand for, how they may fit into the big picture. We actually found that as high as 50% of students were unlikely to accept a full-time job that actually matches their skills, but not their values. Minami, how important is setting the stage for students at Ontario Teachers? And what does your team do to get the students really excited and aligned with the organization's mission?
Thank you, Julie. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. Really pleased to be able to be here this afternoon. So how important is setting the stage for students and teachers? So important. And I would say that our secret sauce when it comes to onboarding is actually the pre-boarding part of the journey. So it's how we're welcoming and engaging those students in between signing their offer and their day one. We do a lot of our interviewing virtually with our interns. So a lot of them have with their co-ops, and a lot of them haven't had the chance to see our office in person or meet their team in real life. So as part of our pre-boarding, we actually invite our students to come in for a pre-boarding reception. It's your chance to get a tour of the office, to meet their team face-to-face, hopefully to meet their buddy, have that familiar person in day one, and really cut some of the nervousness that comes in with day one. So that when they come in for their onboarding experience, they're actually ready to absorb and learn, and their mind isn't busy in the background wondering about, am I dressed right? Should I pack lunch today? Am I making the right impressions? They've already done all of that. Today is the day to learn and to be focused. When we think about how we're engaging them during the onboarding sessions itself, there's two key things we try to focus on: keeping it digestible and keeping some movement in the day. We do 2 full days of onboarding back to back. It's a lot of material for students to be sitting through. So we try to keep the material really digestible. This means no individual speaker is presenting for more than 20 minutes at a time. And if they really have to go over that, we're incorporating things like a pop quiz or a little bit of a competitive element to engage students throughout the presentations. And then when it comes to movements, it's literally getting people out of their seats and moving around the room, whether that's for an icebreaker or breaking up the day with a little bit of a mini tour through a particular space, just to get people out of the room and moving throughout onboarding.
Oh, that's really wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, I totally agree that it's never too early to start that impression. And your pre-boarding activities are fabulous. Keeping the materials digestible, engaging, and having people move around so that you're never feeling like you're stuck in your seat for the whole day. So that's great. Thank you so much. So if we can go to the next slide. Should be on to, there's just our summary of the takeaways there for you. We will make the slides available after the session. But next I want to talk about the ingredient of mentorship and how giving students the autonomy to take ownership of their duties can contribute to a productive work term. Now, I have an 8-year-old son, and I do get a bit of anxiety when he wants to experiment in the kitchen. It's hard not to want to do things for him, but I try to let him take ownership of the process, to make mistakes, ask for help. And, to be honest, the results don't always end up edible, but each time he gets stronger and stronger. And I know one day he'll be fully competent in the kitchen. He'll be at university, cooking up his own meals. But with co-op students, it's much of the same. Stepping back and giving them the room to achieve can really help them to rise. Students want to be challenged, to be creative, and to have the opportunity to tackle complex problems, but with a company that values and invests in their development. In fact, 3 out of 4 Gen Z respondents in our research rated mentorship as essential to their learning support from employers. Now, Amitosh, I'm going to throw this next question over to you. What do you offer in the way of mentorship opportunities, and how has that benefited Dayforce? It would be really great to hear how Dayforce supports student autonomy and still provide the right mentorship and guidance when a student needs help.
Sure. Firstly, thanks for having us, Julie. Really excited to be here. And I love the analogy which you shared, and I can deeply resonate with that. So letting go of control can certainly be hard, and a lot of folks on the call can certainly vouch on that when it comes to their hiring managers. So no one wants to let go that control. But the magic happens on the other side when you put trust and let these students lead. So at Dayforce, we view mentorship not as like a formal process, but it's as an everyday practice rooted in accessibility, guidance, shared learning. Every intern is paired with a dedicated mentor, someone who's committed to coach, answer questions, encourage exploration. And mentorship, we highly preach one thing, that mentorship doesn't mean hand-holding. We all should learn that. It's providing a net and not a cage. So what makes this work is a culture of guided ownership. Students are encouraged to ask questions, make mistakes, and share ideas on a bi-weekly connect with their mentors. But when they need support, mentors and managers are there to guide and not dictate. From an autonomy standpoint, we intentionally give students autonomy right from day one by assigning them real life and meaningful projects. And I would love to share a couple of examples, what we have seen with students, especially from a software dev standpoint, because we are a tech employer. We have seen our dev interns stepping up as Scrum Masters, leading stand-ups, and even building reusable user front-end components across the product. And one intern redesigned the key pages of our Career Explorer page and proposed upgrades to our peer recognition tool. And these weren't just nice to have. So these were the real features that impacted users at scale. So we also empower interns to their own onboarding experience, so that through different activities like hosting intern panels, organizing mixes, or planning tech demos. And the end result, which we see, is confidence and a genuine sense of contribution. And from a business perspective, that's a win, right? So these students become our strongest future hires, and because we've already seen them leading so many different projects.
Mhm. Oh, that's really great. I love how you said you offer nets and not a cage. That's fantastic. And, being able to see how students can really take the reins and lead when you give them the right environment to do so is awesome. So thank you for sharing those examples of guided leadership and guided ownership. Next, I'd like to add to the mix the feeling of community. I actually recently attended a conference and heard that 57% of people desire more connection with coworkers at work. I think it's safe to say that once we join a new company, we all want to feel part of the team and a part of the organization as a whole. As we have already seen, creating community can start as early as the pre-onboarding phase and through how we support the work that we're doing. However, you can further enhance that by offering things like coffee chats, social and networking events, volunteer or social activism groups at work, or connecting with corporate values and so forth. Minimi, I know that Ontario Teachers has done some really great things to build community around your employees, such as using a cohort system and ensuring there are always ways to connect with each other. Can you share more about how your team uses these strategies and what you've observed and how it impacts student performance or student satisfaction?
Absolutely. I think there's three things that really come to mind for me with that. It's helping our cohort of co-ops feel connected with each other, helping them feel connected with our broader organization, and a little bit like Amatosh said around providing nets, not cages, giving them the tools to be able to continue to develop while they're here with us. So when I think about students being able to connect with each other, we have a student social committee here. It's run by students, for students. They host things every month, ranging from escape rooms they design themselves, trying to escape from a meeting room, through to things like, a little bit of barbecue, summer party kind of feels in our level 31 spaces as well. So lots of great opportunities for the co-ops to be able to connect with one another. When I think about integrating them to our overall organization and helping them find connections beyond the co-op level, so with experienced professionals, managers, maybe a potential mentor that could form organically, our employee resource groups have been a really great space for that. So we have 5 employee resource groups here at Teachers. They are very grassroots, started by employees for each other to create safe spaces for conversation, eventually growing into a space for allies as well. So our 5 are focused on ABLE at Teachers, which looks at neurodivergence, disabilities, and overall well-being. Pride at Teachers, which focuses on our 2S LGBTQ+ community. Women at Teachers, Multicultural at Teachers, and Green at Teachers, which focuses on sustainable lifestyles. Many of those groups within our organization are also co-hosting events, really recognizing that many of us are going to identify in multiple ways, and intersectionality is really important when we think about D&I. So these are spaces where I'll often even go to attend an event myself and see some of our co-op students there, connecting with employees broadly. And then the third thing that I'm so proud around is giving those tools for our co-ops as they're here with us. So we have a program that we run in-house called Career Fundamentals, a good pun. And it's really something that came from feedback from previous co-ops who said they wanted more opportunity to connect with each other. They wanted the chance to get away from their desks during the day and really think about the bigger picture of their career. And while they were getting some good technical on the job training, they wanted more time to develop soft skills. So we put together Career Fundamentals, and it's a series of workshops, fireside chats, their C-suite, panels, networking opportunities, that chance to do exactly all those 3 things at once. Get away during lunch, have a bite to eat, break bread with folks, connect with others, learn something new all at the same time. And because we have the co-ops coming in every 4 months, we're able to tailor each co-op to a different theme or core value. So this past winter, our co-ops were focused on performance driven as we set our goals for the year. The cohort that's coming in this summer is going to be looking at courage. How do you have courage, especially when you're a student and you're new to the team? So these are some of the ways that we're really looking to build community to set up our students for successful work terms.
Thank you so much. That's amazing. Lots to digest there. Just the recap for our guests here. Social committees are a great way to engage students, by students, for students. They know what they like, right? So you have to engage them. The employee resource groups, the various values that they have and where they can connect with other people with similar values within the organization, also amazing. and then developing programming specific to students and their early career stage, as well as focusing on those key values every 4 months. Now, one thing I did hear sort of through all of that is, that these things don't have to be expensive or take a lot. The students being so creative to create their own escape room at the office, is great. You don't have to invest a lot in creating community, especially for employers that might have a smaller office. And I hope that this does provide some inspiration for you. Now, I'm thinking, and then another important ingredient to look at here is really how we can celebrate the successes of students and really all employees in general. I am a firm believer in positive reinforcement. It helps to build confidence, competency, and loyalty. I think acknowledging achievements can be as simple as saying, "Great job, keep up the awesome work," and sharing those wins with the rest of the team. And but they can also range from spotlighting students in a company newsletter to more formal recognition programs and awards. Now, for this question, I'm going to invite both Amitoj and Minami to share an example of how you celebrate achievements at Dayforce and Ontario Teachers to show how you value your staff's contributions. Amitoj, how about you go first?
For sure.
Thanks.
Thanks, Julie. I strongly believe that, celebration is one of the most underrated retention tools, especially for students when they are finding their place in the professional world. So we should spend some more time on this for sure. At Dayforce, we celebrate student success in both loud and quiet ways because both are matters to us. Publicly, we spotlight student achievements through end-of-term presentations in front of senior leadership. And I do remember one intern who presented a new Jira monitoring system. He built it independently, and we now use it across different teams. So these presentations not only validate their hard work, but also build confidence and visibility. We also use a couple of internal recognition platforms. As you mentioned, recognition is really an important tool, like Viva Engage, Life Work Kudos, to celebrate wins in the moment. And when one of the interns reduced the marketing response time from 5 days to 30 minutes, his impact wasn't just praised privately within a small team, but rather it was celebrated company-wide. So that sense of recognition makes students feel seen and valued. And on the more personal side, we host social celebrations as well, from Raptors games to surprise Uber Eats gift cards, to make sure that we mark milestones and create some memories. And these moments matter because they reinforce that our students are not just temporary staff, but they are part of a community. So yeah, that's our take. Would love to hear from Minami.
Very excited about those Raptors games. That sounds like a lot of fun. Some of the things that we're doing on our side, we do, like I said, like to include our co-op students in our broader employee population. So that also includes involving them in nominations for our existing recognition programs. So we have an engineering student who we actually rehired to come back in a full-time capacity, and he ended up winning our Teachers' Values Award, which only about 4 or 5 employees a year are actually winning, and they get to meet Joe Taylor, our president, as part of the award. And so we're so proud of him and his development and the way that he's continued to grow and contribute here at Teachers. But that also extends to all of our students. So not just the few that are winning the select awards, but recognizing the rest of our co-ops are coming through as well. So as we wrap up each end of work term, we have that social kind of party at the end of the work term to kind of celebrate and say our goodbyes to the co-ops. And we also give them completion certificates. They've got something to take with them at the end of their work term. We give them digital versions as well, assets they can use on places like LinkedIn as they kind of reflect on their work term and share their experience with their friends. And really helpful in terms of timing as well. We think ahead, campus recruiting, we're always recruiting, always hiring. So as those co-op students are outgoing and sharing their experiences and some of their wins and successes, we're also gearing up for that next co-op hiring cycle. And so the timing works out really well in both directions for us.
Thank you very much for sharing those things. I think one of the favorite parts of my job is really hearing how students have made those contributions in organizations that have real big impact on the organization itself, like the JIRA example that Amitoj shared, and Minami, how your students are always, can be recognized with your programs and such. Now, with just to summarize what we had just heard, we can plan end of term presentations, completion certificates, and I love the part about giving them assets that they can use on their LinkedIn. And so it really shows that the employer is invested in their success beyond the current work term. Including students in existing employee recognition programs and award nominations, as well as hosting social celebrations. Now, for that last one, just a reminder that if your company doesn't have the capacity to host your own awards, you can always nominate the student for the Waterloo Co-op Student of the Year Award. And conversely, students can also support their employers by submitting testimonials for the Employer Impact Awards. And I will say that both Ontario teachers and Dayforce were honored at our last Employer Impact Awards. So thank you very much for your support in these areas. I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of the session as well. Now we're going to move to offboarding. We're going to see like how do we end off the term productively as well, ensuring that your time, your effort that you put into the co-op program is all worth it in the end. I think that most people on this call are going to agree that you're here because you want to attract talent for the long term, for staffing needs and for succession planning. So how do you turn a student into a full-time member of the team? Well, for this one, Amitoj, I'm going to pull on you. I know Dayforce actually has a very strong conversion rate of co-ops to full-time permanent hires, about 50%, if I recall. Can you share what those conversations are like and any other secrets to keeping talent in your funnel?
For sure. This is certainly a big one and probably my favorite part of the cycle because the end of the work term isn't just the end of a relationship. It's actually the beginning of something bigger. And at Dayforce, we are proud to have an over 40 to 50% of co-op to full-time conversion rate. And this doesn't happen by chance. It starts with planting the seed super early. From week one, we are transparent with students. So if you're passionate, curious, and want to grow with us, there's a place for you here. So throughout the term, we track their performance, we gather bi-weekly, monthly feedbacks from them, and most importantly, have an honest, ongoing career conversation. So it's not just you did well, it's actually where do you see yourself growing? Where can we support your path? And I think these conversations build trust and help students see a future with us because at the moment they have so many different options with so many employers visiting their universities. I think they need to build that relationship with one employer where they see valued and where they see that the employer is really investing in them. So that's the reason that we work so much on them. And when offboarding time comes, we conduct structured wrap-up meetings. So we review project outcomes, we again gather feedback on their experience and identify development areas. So one important piece we also do is we ensure that they are part of our intern alumni network so that we stay connected beyond the term. Because sometimes interns are going back to the school to wrap up their undergraduate. Sometimes we don't have a full-time position right at the moment they're graduating. So we want them to be connected in a network where we can share all those opportunities with them. So let me share a quick example. So we had a product manager intern. So she led the rollout of Shift Marketplace mid last year. And she was working with brands like Coca-Cola and Lululemon. So they are our customers. And because of the ownership and the visibility she had, the conversion was a no-brainer. So that's where we feel that, autonomy comes, and that's where we feel giving meaningful projects and work to them really help us convert these interns. And now she's back as a full-time product manager, mentoring our next cohort of interns. And our secret is that a mix of proactive planning, structured offboarding cycle, and a culture that sees interns as a long-term talent and not just a short-term help.
Great. I think it's important for that story, to be shared definitely amongst in your company too, encouraging hiring managers really to understand that there are successes from hiring co-ops and playing that long game. Like you said, from day one, you have to have that conversation. And I'm going to go even as far as to say, you know, you can start with a first-year student and work them all the way up to graduation. It doesn't have to be a senior student that you're thinking about conversion, right? You want to work with these people and see what they're capable of, and then keep them in your network, as you mentioned, so that they are natural fits for those full-time positions that come up. So thank you so much for sharing that. I see the time is about 3:11, which will give us about 10 minutes or so for some questions. If you're okay to take a few, I will just take a look at what's come in. Okay, so here's a question from Danielle. I love the idea of student social committees. How did you set these up, especially when students are only with the organization for 4 months at a time?
On that one.
Yeah.
Yes. So when they're only here for 4 months at a time, it's a lot of turnover. It's a tricky one. So I'll answer this in two ways. One, we do have some co-ops or students currently who are here for slightly longer periods, or if we've had a recent grad come in and they want to join for the first year of their full-time experience with us, that gives us a little bit of extra continuity. In the past, when we haven't had those situations, my team has been the team to lead in. So one of us will go to their planning meetings and help with some of that transition when we have turnover between co-op terms. So that's helped us a little bit with those 4-month pieces. And then at the beginning, again, you're being able to share best practices or ideas of what previous co-op students have done in between those cohorts in terms of ideas and things that might make their budget go a little further when they're planning their events.
Excellent. Thank you. Do you keep like or do the students create any sort of like manual or anything that they pass on to the next group?
You know what? We haven't had to do that before. We're lucky right now to have a couple students that are here longer term that are helping with some of these transitions. But I think if we were in the position of having a clean 4 months every time turnover, it would probably be quite valuable for them.
We've had employers also do sort of 8 months and 8 months overlapping so that they can pass the torch or pass that baton on, so to speak. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Let me see this next question here. Actually, maybe this is a good one for Amitoj. Well, actually, you guys are remote, but I'm going to ask this anyway for both of you. It says, we have 4 to 9 co-op students at a time. Should we be keeping all of their desks together or spreading them around the building and disperse them throughout our full-time staff? This particular question came in from an engineering company. Okay.
Would love to share my thoughts. I think it's really important to spread them across the full-time team members because that certainly gives them a sense of belonging. Number one, autonomy. They feel that they're working on some real projects so that the team can include them in all the sprint meetings, in any stand-up meetings which they have every morning. So there will be a huge connection between those full-time employees. And also, I think students will get to learn more about the professional culture, how teams connect with each other, how they run those sprint calls, and how they collaborate with other different business areas. So there's a lot of learning which is involved in that. So I would highly recommend that if you have an opportunity, let them sit with their actual teams. And most important of all is give them meaningful work, because the biggest feedback which we get from students these days is that I was working with a previous big employer and I didn't get a lot of like meaningful work. It was just a kind of a desk job, just assigned few templates to fix and build like a process book, something like that. So if you really see early talent from a future lens, like your next generation leaders, it's really good that you give them some really good work.
Excellent. Yes, I completely agree. 100%. Okay. So we have a question here, also going back to the employee resource groups at teachers. For smaller organizations that lack the budget or resources to establish these sort of groups and similar initiatives, what strategies might you suggest to foster an environment where students can thrive, feel valued, and uplifted?
That's a great one. I can maybe give some ideas here. So as I mentioned, our employee resource group started grassroots. They were just employees connecting with each other over lunch or over coffee, and kind of grew to become something that was much more formal. So when I think to what those earlier days would have been like for employee resource groups, it probably would be quite similar to what you're seeing in your own organization today. So bringing your own lunch together around the table and being able to connect that way could be part of it. We sometimes do a little bring your own lunch, even our own talent team. We did one yesterday. We all sat together and just brought our own things with us. But in terms of other ways you might be able to foster that for students, there are other creative ways. If I think about what our social committee has done, we give them a little bit of budget, but it is a fairly modest budget for them to work with. So they do have to get creative. Sometimes their event is as simple as each of them bringing their favorite board game in from home and carving out an hour together in the afternoon to play them in our cafeteria area. So there are definitely cheap and cheerful ways to get people connected and spending time with each other. If you've got a little bit of time to plan something extra, you could try maybe like a speed networking event, maybe invite a couple of your employees that are, full-time professionals that are really open and engaged to meeting with students to do something like that. It's a relatively low lift in terms of organization. Just get everybody in chairs and have the students move every 10 minutes, and you've got a little bit of an activity for them. So hopefully those are some ideas that may get you started.
I love those ideas. Thank you for sharing that, Minami. And I think also don't forget that these students, one of the things we always say about our students is they come in with fresh perspective. Ask them what they would like to do, what ideas they may have for building that community where they will feel more valued and part of the team, or what could help them get to know the rest of the team, right? So yeah, use all the resources you have, and they don't have to be expensive. Okay, here's a question from someone in a government position. It says, what if we do not have enough funding to hire full-time post offboarding because we are government positions? We usually form a lot of connections and introduce our co-ops to industry. Let me see. So maybe Amatosh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's this, I see this case with so many other employers as well. It's not always about conversions. A lot of employers see internships as a most cost-effective way to bring talent to get the short-term projects done, and achieve results, because it's just short term, and that's what companies want, right? So the best part is to have like a strong brand image in the market, is to be super clear with them from day one that this is a short term opportunity where you get to learn so much. You'll be working on hands-on, you will get hands-on experience with all the great leaders in the industry, and if possible, something big is that you build connections and networks, so those people can certainly introduce you to other organizations post finishing up your internship. So just being clear from day one, I think that's what makes you different from other employers, because instead of giving them any false hopes from day one that we do convert, we might convert, there can be an opportunity, the budgets are flexible, they can go up and down. So I think being honest with them from day one, it's really good. I have few groups in my company as well, which are only hiring for a very part-time basis because they have a couple of projects which they want extra support. So we are super honest with students. So don't expect a conversion in this area, but you will get to meet so many great people. You will learn actual work, and you'll get to work with folks globally in other regions all across the globe, right? So yeah, that's my take. Just be honest and just give them some really good work.
I think, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to hop in with an example of what Amatoshi's just described, because we experience this regularly. And, I don't know if we've got folks in the finance sector, but we're in the buy side of our industry. It's known for having a little bit less full-time return opportunities. And we are really transparent with candidates. We'll say there may not be a full-time opportunity on the other end of this, but here's what we can give you. It's going to be meaningful. You're going to be part of a small deal team where you're actually contributing to these decisions that are happening. If that's what you want, make the most of it while you're here, because you'll be able to leverage that in the future. And one day when you're looking to return to the buy side of the industry, you'll be the candidate who's done it already, albeit at a co-op level, but you've got it on your resume, and that's going to be an edge for you in a couple of years' time. We also see students boomeranging with us. So candidates who have co-op with us, we didn't have the opportunity at the time when we said our thank yous and goodbyes, and then a couple of years later, they come back. So we just had somebody join as an accountant in our finance team. She interned here 3 years ago, and now she stayed in touch and now got the full-time offer. So it may not always be immediate, but when we think about sowing seeds, it takes time sometimes for those roots to form and those blossoms to come up.
Yeah, I agree. It really is about feeding that network, that might not happen immediately, but they are in your, in your Rolodex, so to speak, for future opportunities. And you just never know when those paths are going to cross again. And that talent is going to become important to you in whatever role you're in. So thank you very much for that. Now, I think we can do one or two more questions here. Here's one that says, when is the best time to ask a student to return for a second work term? Now, I can probably speak on that from a logistic point of view, but I'd love to hear from our speakers as to what their timing is, recommendation is. So,
Sure. Do you want me to, for sure. So I would just love to share what we do at Differ. So we begin the intern recruitment process 4 months in advance, just like every other employer, and we follow those timelines given by our school partners. Take an example of the upcoming fall session. So the positions will go live on 5th of May, and all our interns are going to start with us on 5th of May. So we send an MS, like Microsoft Forums. We do a survey internally. We send a survey to all interns who are onboarding us for the summer term, and we tell them that these are the areas where we are planning to hire. If you're available for another 4 to 8 months, please reach out to us and let us know your availability and which position you're interested in. So it's good that you start the process 4 months in advance, because that's when interns can let you know, and that's when actually the hiring process begins. If you reach out to them sometime after 2 or 3 months, most likely they have either accepted like another position, or they might have signed up for a couple of courses, so that because they're going back to the school.
Thank you. Minimi, do you have anything to add to that?
I would say sooner rather than later. If you know you've got the position and you know that they're interested and they're still available, securing them as soon as we can. I know you were saying kind of logistics wise, we think about our summer co-ops and when we're feeling confident about our headcount for the following year. I'd say generally we start to have those conversations around July. So 60, 75 days in of work sample with the hiring manager. We get a sense of who on the co-op team do we think might be a good fit for returning. And then trying to get those offers out kind of end of July, early August for a return offer post-graduation for the following spring. So that's kind of the timeline we generally work with. But I'd say in terms of the conversation with the hiring managers, that's an ongoing feedback loop with them of checking in and seeing how their co-ops are performing. And again, keeping an eye out for who we think may be a potential returning fit.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Now, I love to hear students returning for a second work term. It means that the fit is good. They really enjoyed the opportunity, and that you've got somebody who you could really see as a good fit in the organization. So having that early discussion, like Amitoj and Minimi have indicated, is perfect. Logistically, we at Waterloo do recommend that you talk about a returning student or returning opportunity before the end of the work term, simply because once they're back in school, they're immediately into the next recruitment cycle. So if you wait too long, then they could be involved in other job searching and so forth. But have that conversation early so that you can get a good sense of what they're looking for, what their career trajectory is. Because they don't just because they might not return for a second term doesn't mean they won't return in the future for full-time work as well, right? Some students just want to try a few different things while they have that opportunity and really find what is right for them. Okay, so that's, I'm going to stop there. We can answer the rest of the questions later if we didn't get to you, so apologize for that. But before we wrap up, I'm just going to highlight a few ways that you might want to stay engaged to show the awesome work that you provide to for students, and also the work that they do for you. So again, if you had a student that went above and beyond during their work term, please nominate them for a Co-op Student of the Year award. The recipients here, they receive recognition at an award ceremony, a highlight article for them, and a cash prize. So that's always a fun thing for students to feel valued from their employer. You can also get started on your 2026 Employer Impact Awards application now by asking your students to write a student testimonial for you. They'll actually be prompted at the end of their term survey through Waterloo Works. But you know, having that little nudge to ask a student to submit a testimonial is also great. And the Employer Impact Awards are really a fantastic way to increase your branding on campus to really attract that top talent. We also have a LinkedIn newsletter called Talent Trends Today, which will be publishing an issue focused on offboarding in the next couple of days. Valuable tips like the ones you heard today from Minami and Amitoj will be featured. And you can subscribe to that Talent Trends Today through, they'll be putting a link in the chat. Now, as the session comes to close, I really want to extend a final and heartfelt thanks to our amazing speakers, Minami Alguire and Amitosh Sandhu, for sharing their insights and expertise with us today. Your secret sauce definitely helped with our understanding of how to foster productive and meaningful work terms, and just really appreciate you sharing. Now, to all the attendees who are here, thank you for your participation in today's session, your dedication through co-op, through our program of co-op to shape the future of talent. I really hope you're leaving here with some actionable ideas and inspiration to enhance your own co-op programs. Love to hear what happens from here. So next up is our closing panel, Change Makers in Action, which will feature some student stories. So please tune in to hear some really inspiring stories about how students have made big impacts during their work term. Thank you very much.